Hi, and welcome to the second part of Learning Verbs. Learning Verbs Part 2. Now, in today's learning video, we will be discussing and learning about identifying verbs in sentences, verb subject agreement, transitive and intransitive verbs, and imperative verbs. Now, the last video, Learning Verbs Part 1, really looked at the flesh of the subject of verbs. This one here is going to be slightly easier, and this one here is a bit easier to understand. In this one here, we're really going right down to the foundations, the basics, the very basics of verbs. That's how we'll be starting off. Now, a verb is an action or a doing word. Each sentence consists of a verb and a subject. Okay? Now let's start off with some nice, easy sentences where it's easy to see where the verb is. Let's have a look at these. So quite easy to actually spot the verb from these very small sentences here. John ran home. John being the subject. What's John doing? He ran. Okay? Ran being the verb. John ran home. A subject and a verb. Each sentence has a subject and a verb. The verb describes what the subject is doing. And there you have it. That's telling you exactly that, isn't it? John ran home. Kate rode her horse. Who's the subject? Kate. Where's the verb from that sentence? Now, what's Kate doing? She's riding her horse, isn't she? But we're using the past tense here, and we will be coming on to past and present tenses in a later video. Okay? Kate rode her horse. Rode is a verb. Subject Kate. He worked all day. Subject he. Of course, it's a doing word, it's an action word. He worked all day. It's the only word in that sentence that could possibly be a verb. Nice and easy, these ones here. He jumped high. He, of course, is the subject. Well, what else could it be? Could the subject be high? Could it be jumped? It couldn't, could it? The subject is normally always on the left-hand side of a sentence, although not always. It can be on the predicate side as well, but again we will be covering predicate nouns and adjectives later on. We don't want to confuse you too much. So let's go back to that one again. He jumped high. He is the subject. Jumped, of course, is the verb. And high there, of course, is an adjective. We will be covering adverbs and adjectives in the next video. They drank coffee. They drank coffee. Subject, they. What did they do? They drank. What did they drink? Coffee. 3-word sentence there. They drank coffee. You know, it jumps out and hits you, you know, between the eyes, doesn't it? It's obvious that drank is going to be the verb there. The dog moved. I think you're getting the general hang of this now, aren't you? The dog, of course, is the subject. The acting as an adjective there for the noun dog. The dog moved. Subject is the dog. What did the dog do? It moved. I sang loudly. I sang loudly. You've got it, haven't you? What's the verb from that sentence? Of course, it is sang. Because loudly isn't a verb. And neither is I. So, these ones there are actually quite simple. Okay, let's try this one out for size. Let's see if you can spot the verb here. Okay, now don't forget that the verb is describing the subject. Okay, we're talking about Roxy's nightclub here. Roxy's nightclub is a place to go if you like thumping loud music, singing and dancing. Now, while you might think that there are a lot of verbs there is actually only one main verb in that sentence. Okay, because we're describing what the subject is doing here, and it's really all described by one little word. Is, past tense was, infinitive version be, Roxy's nightclub is. That's the verb. Now, thumping, of course, that can be used as a main verb. Ray is thumping the desk. Ray is singing. Ray is dancing. Fine. But nothing else actually fits here. You know, we've got to think about the subject here, and the subject by saying thumping, well, yes, but what about singing and dancing? You know, they all fit, don't they? They all fit. So, for example, in a situation like this, it's actually made nice and simple for you. I mean to say, you could list 24 different verbs there, which can be used as main verbs in their own right. But is the main verb in that sentence. Roxy's nightclub is a place to go if you like thumping loud music, singing and dancing. It's the only one that is really giving us a state of being. It's the only word that's acting as a collective doing word. After watching videos and listening to explanations on the understanding of verbs, John felt more comfortable. Again, just like with Roxy's nightclub, we see the word watching, which is, that must be the verb. Nope. We see the word listening. Well, that's a verb, isn't it? Not the main verb. Understanding. Now that's a verb, isn't it? What about the word verbs there? Is the word verbs a verb? A main verb? All sounds very confusing, doesn't it? But when you think about it, we've got to just narrow this down here. Now, we look at this whole sentence and read it out again. After watching videos and listening to explanations on the understanding of verbs, John felt more comfortable. Right, let's find the subject. Is John. What's John doing? What has John experienced? He felt. John, subject, verb, felt. You see, you can't list a great big variety of verbs as a main verb. Okay, there's one main verb, and quite often the simplest answer is, and the most obvious one, is the correct one. Now, it actually does make sense. You can maybe try some of these out yourself. Write out great big long sentences there using verbs all over the place. List them. But it's quite often it's a word, a smaller word, that actually explains the verb. In this instance, felt. A verb-subject agreement means just what it says on the tin. The verb and the subject must be in agreement with each other. To put it simply, in the simplest possible terms, they must both be in the same tense, whether it be past or present. Okay? You can't have the verb being in a past tense when the subject is in a present tense. It's quite a good one, this, actually, because if you get this wrong, usually it shouts out at you. It just looks silly. The sentence doesn't make sense. So it's actually very, very hard to not correctly write down a subject and verb agreement. However, we will get it wrong here on purpose. On the old whiteboard, we will write down some sentences where the verb and the subject do not agree. Let's see if you can spot the deliberate mistakes. As you can see from these examples there, they really do sound quite silly, don't they? The cat plays with the wool. Steve changing the locks on all the doors. I see you yesterday. The house is big. Okay, so the cat plays with the wool. Now, you never ever say that. Okay, because when you're using the singular, the cat, that's when you put the S at the end of plays. But when you're using the plural, cats, that is when you say play. The cats play with the wool. The cats play with the wool. The cat plays with the wool. Steve changing all the locks on all the doors. Steve changing all the locks on all the doors. No. If we had put an S after Steve, then yeah, that's fine. Steve is changing the locks on all the doors. But in this instance here, Steve changed the locks on all the doors. Your subject and your verb are therefore in agreement. I see you yesterday. Well, you can't see somebody yesterday unless you go back in time. So therefore, what would it be? Past tense. I saw you yesterday. The houses is big. You see what I mean about when your verb and your subject are not in agreement? It really stands out, doesn't it? And it sounds absolutely ridiculous. The houses is big. The houses are big. Therefore, your verb and your subject are in agreement. So remember when you're using, remember when you're using this singular, he, the pronoun he, you can't say he play football. He play football. When you're using the singular, you put an S at the end of the verb here obviously being play. He plays football. She run the marathon in 3 hours. She, past tense, she ran the marathon in 3 hours. Ran, not run. Run is present, ran is past, and it's, as I say, they jump out and shout at you, say, hey, this is wrong, she run the marathon in 3 hours, it sounds ridiculous, it is ridiculous, you must have got one of the words wrong. The greyhound dogs runs very quickly. Again, just like I said in the first example, if you have got your subject as a plural, if you've got your subject as a plural, then your verb will be written as the singular. It doesn't make any sense unless that's the case. So the incorrect version again, the greyhound dogs runs very quickly. The greyhound dogs run very quickly. The greyhound dog runs very quickly if the dog was in the singular. If the dog is in the plural, then the verb loses the S to make sense. And I hope I have made sense there from these explanations of verb-subject agreement. Write them down yourself. Write them incorrectly and then write them correctly. Transitive verbs. Now, a transitive verb is basically describing the object. It is telling you what is happening to the object. He kicked the ball. There's a nice easy one to start off with there. And how can you tell whether it's transitive or intransitive? You simply ask yourself the question after the verb, the question being what? He kicked. Kicked is the verb. He kicked what? The ball. So the ball is in transition. He kicked the ball. That is clearly a transitive verb because it is explaining what is happening to the ball. The ball is changing. It is changing because it has been kicked. It is moving. He moved the television upstairs. He moved what? The television. Transitive verb. He combed through the internet to find more videos about verbs. Again, look at the verb. He combed. Combed what? Through the internet. No object there, you see. There's no object. So therefore, we are looking at an intransitive verb. He jumped the hurdle. He jumped what? The hurdle. Transitive verb again, you see. So think about transitive verbs as a sentence where you've got an object, okay? And the verb transitive is doing something to the object, whether it be moving, whether it be combing or brushing. He brushed the cat. He brushed. Ask yourself the question, what? The cat. Transitive. He sung for hours. He sung what? For hours. No object. Intransitive verb. I moved the picture of Brittany. I moved what? The picture. Transitive verb. I drove the car. Drove. Drove what? The car. Transitive verb. You see the car being the object here. So we can you can practice these yourself. You can make them up just like I'm doing just now. You could probably come out with some more interesting ones. He drove me mad with his singing. He drove what? Me mad. Intransitive. No object. Okay, so I hope you get the idea of that there. Once again, denoting a verb that requires a direct object. Okay? No direct object following the verb or in the sentence, then it will be intransitive. But ask yourself that question immediately after the verb, and of course, as you know, there's only one verb in a sentence, so it's nice and easy to do. Whether it be kicked, whether it be swallowed, whether it be jumped, whether it be sang, okay, whether it be ate. He ate chips. He ate what? Chips. Transitive verb. You see what I mean? Imperatives, that's a verb as well. You get imperative verbs. Now they are commands where the subject is you. You're the subject. They're direct commands. For example, place the cup on the table. Bring the saucepan over to me. Whisk the egg briskly. Don't enter. Sit down. Don't touch the walls. No talking. Listen. Be quiet. Silence. See what I mean? These are commands. Okay? The verbs, commanding verbs where the subject is you. Quite often you'll see them on signposts. Hold the racket tightly. Okay? They are commands, direct commands. They don't always have to be like that, you know, they can be polite commands as well. Attend my birthday party on Sunday the 5th. Or, please, you can even say it politely, please attend my birthday party on Sunday the 5th. That is what an imperative is. It is a command. Okay? You can practice these ones as well. And now we're going straight on. Sorry I didn't spend a lot of time on imperatives there, but I think they are, you know, they're quite easy to understand. I'm pretty sure you've got the hang of them already. Okay? They're commands, basically. And the subject is you. What more do you want me to say about them? And also remember, with all verbs, because we're leaving verbs now, we're going on to something different in the next video. And we're going on to adverbs and adjectives. Remember, your best friend in the world if you're learning English, or you want to help your English, you want help with your English even, is your English dictionary. Okay? If you're still not sure what is a verb, what is an adjective, what is a noun, what is a pronoun, and we will be covering these later as well. If you're still not sure about any of that, the dictionary will tell you. So, 20 questions now. Good luck with them. If you get them all right, that means you have understood what I've been saying to you in this video. If you don't get them all right, don't worry, go through the video again, and I'm sure you'll get them all right the second time. So, good luck with the quiz, and I'll see you all later on.